In today's video, we're going to be swatching out these Museum Aquarelle by Caran. They're watercolour pencils and they look absolutely fabulous, so I'm really looking forward to getting into them. I love watercolour pencils because they give you that delicate balance between a watercolour but also a bit more control that you have with a pencil. And you can also get some really lovely texture left by the pencil on the paper. Some people don't like that about watercolour pencils and they try and get rid of it. And sometimes it's good to get rid of it, but sometimes it can really benefit your artwork. And that's one of the big reasons why I love them. So today we're just going to be swatching them out, and then in the following video I'll do a design using them so we can see how they perform. So let's get to it. So they come in this really sturdy box, which is heavy. There's 76 of them in there, so it should be. But it feels really solid, and if you turn it over, it's got this gorgeous foam-backed interior of the board to protect the pencils. And the pencils themselves are encased in this foam, and it just makes them feel so precious. It makes them feel like each one is really cared for and they have their own little containers, so already they just kind of feel like the upper level. Each pencil has a number printed on it on the end, and then it also has the name on one side, and it's also got some stars which indicate its light fast rating. I've had a quick spot check of these pencils on the top row and they all seem to have 5 stars, which doesn't surprise me because these pencils are known for being highly light fast. But we'll see as we go through if there are any that don't have 5. I found an interesting contradiction. On the lid it says watercolour pencils, specifically says watercolour pencils, but then if you open up this little leaflet inside, it says Museum Aquarelle is not a watercolour pencil, it is a water-soluble in a pencil form. So what are they? Are they watercolour pencils or are they water-soluble in a pencil form? I guess they're both, but it's just an easier way to call them watercolour pencils than a water-soluble in a pencil form. I'm going to swatch them out on this Winsor & Newton drawing paper because it's got a very smooth surface, 220 grams, so it should be okay because I'm not going to put huge amounts of water on. And I've got this swatch card that I prepared already, so I'm going to do up here a little tiny 1 centimetre swatch of the solid colour dry, and then I'll put them down here and swatch them out with the water. I've put all the numbers. I didn't have room for all the names, but the numbers should be fine to identify them later. In order for this video not to become exceptionally long, I'm going to take them and swatch them out dry first, and then I'll go through that quite quickly, put some music up while I'm doing it, and then I'll come back in and we'll go with the water and we'll go more slowly and see how they react. My table is wobbling wildly as I do this. It's probably a good thing that I'm doing it while, so it's probably a good thing that I'm going through it fast. I'll put down a fairly solid bit and then also down here. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to the table so it stays still and go through the rest of these colours, putting them down. So that's the first row finished. The box, it's got these lovely velvet tabs that you can just lift out the top tray, and then beneath you've got the second tray, and it's very sturdy again. It's got this, I don't want to turn it over, well let's see if I can. The back of the tray again is covered with this foam which protects the pencils below, and the whole thing just feels extremely luxurious. Hopefully my paintings will do it justice. That was interesting. As I swatched that one, you can see that it came out with some 5 lines of darker green. There must have been a piece of pigment stuck in there in the pencil. That's the only one that's done that. That's the second row done, and again I'm going to lift this tray out with the velvet tabs and move on to the last one, which is mostly browns and greys and a bit of reddy orangey. Oh, I've got 2 pencils here as well. I've got a 6B, which is also water soluble, and the next one is a 3B. That is super smooth. Wow, that just goes down like velvet. 3B does as well, but the 6B was incredibly smooth. I've got to remember to put them back up the top as well. So if you did a pencil drawing and you wanted it to wash away and blend in with your watercolours, these would be the ones to use. Wow, that 6B is just delightful. 6B is generally my favourite pencil anyway, but that one is incredible. Okay, so I'll just finish off swatching these other ones, the last row. So there we have all the colours swatched out. I've just been through them to look at the light fast rating, and there aren't many of them that don't have 5, but some of them do. So I'm just going to mark those out beforehand on here. So the first one is this blue, dark ultramarine, which is 640, this second one here. This has got 3 stars. Light blue, which is 161, that's got 4 stars. We've got the periwinkle blue, which is 131, that's got 4 stars as well. The one next to it is violet, and that's only got 3 stars. My spot check of the top row obviously didn't work out quite well because I hardly found any when I did the spot check. But there are a few on the other rows. This one's got the most. This is dark plum, 106, and it's got 2 stars. And next to it there's the crimson aubergine, which has got 3 stars. And then a couple further on is the vermilion 060, which has got 3. And then going into the oranges, we've got the saffron 052, and that's got 4 stars. And the yellow has got 4 as well. That's 010. I think that was it for the top row. On the row beneath, we've got just 4 of them. The ice blue, which is 185, that's got 4 stars. Then the emerald green 210, that's got 4 stars as well. The dark thylacine green has got 4, and that's 719. And then last of all on this row, we've got the green ochre, 0.25, and that's got 3 stars, which is a shame because it's almost one of my favourite colours. And then on the bottom row, there are just 2. One is the Payne's Grey, which has got 4 stars, and that is 508. And the Violet Pink, 583, that's got 3 stars. So on the whole, I think that's pretty good going for a range of 76 pencils. Not many of them don't have 5-star ratings, light fast ratings. So let's get to the fun part. I'm going to try and swatch them out using not that much water, first of all, so that they don't make those horrible tide marks. Or not necessarily horrible, they can be nice if you want them, but I don't want them particularly in this case. And also to try and avoid them running into each other because they are quite close together, these swatches. I did them really close together so that I could get somewhat of the effect that it has on the cover, which I really love, when you can see them right bang up next to each other. These ones have probably got pencil the whole way down underneath, which I haven't got. I've only got it at the top because I wanted to see what it looked like when it was more diluted. But it should still give us a nice effect. So let's hope I can avoid them running into each other too badly by using not too much water. It'll also be interesting to see how they change as they go along, because these ones here are going to stay dry. So we'll have the contrast between what that looks like and what they look like with the water. So let's go. I'll just zoom in a bit to the colour that we're doing. So the first one is Night Blue. As I was swatching out these pencils, they all, almost without exception, were really soft and laid down really easily. So that was nice. There was nothing that felt hard or scratchy, apart from one felt vaguely scratchy because I had that one there. You can see I came out with, I must have hit a piece of darker pigment. That was the only real bit of scratch that I felt as I went along. But once that piece of pigment had gone, it reverted to being soft again. So that was good. So the next one is Dark Ultramarine. This is the one with 3-star rating. They're immediately dissolving in the water, so that's great. And that one's left some pencil marks, but this one, they seem to go quite easily. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there'll be some kind of line and ridge where the pencil was as we go along. This one here is Middle Cobalt Blue. Next up is Genuine Cobalt Blue. Yeah, the pencil marks seem to be coming away really quite easily. The next one is Light Blue with its 3-star rating. Next up is Light Cobalt Blue, 661. Wow, that's so light it almost disappears. I probably should have put a heavier lay down for that. But these are some really, these kind of 4, or at least 3 here anyway, seem very pastel-y. So that makes sense as well. But yeah, very pale. The next one is Ultramarine Violet. The doorbell just rang and there was huge amounts of barking. So I had to turn off the video for a while. But while I was doing it, I was swatching out the Ultramarine Violet. So can't go back and do it again. So we'll just move on to the next one, which is the, let's see, it's the Manganese Violet. In some ways, I feel like I should have put down more colour because some of them are coming out very light, but maybe it is just because these 3 here are particularly pastel-y. We'll see as we go forward. Next one is Periwinkle Blue. Hold on a second. Okay, no, we're back on track. I was confused because this colour here does not look like that colour there. It looks much more like that colour. So that's what got me all spun around. But actually this is the Periwinkle Blue 131. So we are on track. Okay. And it's the 4-star light rating. Next up is the Violet 120, again with a 3-star rating. Okay, so yeah, same amount of pencil went down, but much more pigment and colour coming off it, so I don't need to worry about the amount that I put down. That's just so much stronger, it's incredible. Gorgeous colour. So the next one up is Carmine Lake. Oh wow, that is lovely. Really reddy colour, reddy brown. I love colours that call themselves lake. It just kind of conjures up this amazing image of a really colourful lake that you could just dive into. So that one appeals to me. So next up is a 2-star rating, and it's Dark Plum. Oh wow, so lovely. Beautiful. And next to it is the one with the 3-star rating, which is the Crimson Aubergine. Also gorgeous, reminds me of a red wine. The next one is Purplish Red. I love this colour, I know for sure. Here we go. Look at that. Ha! That is spectacular. It's got the next one bleeding into it somewhat, but never mind. Next to that we have Scarlet. Also lovely and strong. So you can see that you could use these by just packing on the pigment. You could use them much stronger, or you can dilute them more and have a more watery effect, depending on what you like or what you're going for. So the next one is Vermilion. Really lovely, very nice and bright. Yeah, just complete contrast to the pastel going on over there. Next one is Light Cadmium Red. Sometimes you're so focused on what's going on the paper that you don't realise that it's kind of going slightly out of shot. So I'll try and keep an eye on that as I go along. The next one is Cornelian, a nice orangey colour. I've already run the red into it, so I'll try and avoid that. Whoa, that is amazing. I love the fact that I've got them dry up the top here, so you can see exactly what they would look like when they were dry and when they're wet, because sometimes there's quite a difference. I mean, this one, for example, seems much darker, but here it comes out much more vibrant. And the same again for that one. It just explodes with richness of colour when it comes out in the water. So that's quite a good contrast to have, quite a good reference point to have. Next on to Orange. And that again is exploding with colour. Got loads of water on there, it's going to make a big mark. I'll try and get less on. Next up is Saffron. And that's a more pastel-y, gentler colour, not quite so exploding in colour. But if you did want it thicker, you could use, or brighter, you could use the pencil, dry pencil over the top of it. So next to that one we have Cadmium Yellow, Gold Cadmium Yellow, sorry. And that is a really intense colour, exploding. The next one is Golden Yellow. It feels quite similar to the one next to it. I was looking at these numbers and wondering why they're so different. I mean, these two colours are obviously very close to each other, but one's number is 530 and the other one is 020. So I'm not really sure what's up with the numbers or how they pick them. Maybe there's some explanations online somewhere. I'll go and look at it and see if I can find out. So next, this one is just yellow. And sure enough, it is yellow. The next one is Lemon Yellow. Much paler. This one next to it is Primrose. Very pale indeed. Yeah, you can hardly see it at all. And for the white, I put down a black mark so we can see. I remember putting a lot of white down, so hopefully there will be something there that will go over the black, but we'll see. Yeah, you can just about see it going over there. So fairly translucent, but you can still tell there's something down there. Okay, moving on to the second row. The first one in the second row is Prussian Blue. That's really intense, packed with punch. Next one is Permanent Blue. Wow. Whoa, look at that. That is very intense. The next is Phthalo Cyan Blue. Gosh, that's very strong. I felt like there was loads more pigment there. I didn't put it down much harder when I was doing the swatching out, but as I swatched it with the water, it just felt like there was loads more there to come. Up next to it is Turquoise Blue. Quite similar to its neighbour, but much more towards green. Next to it is Ice Blue. Which again feels quite similar to that one. And that's the one with the 4-star rating. So if you really needed something light fast, you could probably mix together these two and get something very equivalent. Next up is Beryl Green. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. These are really lovely colours, I have to say. Next is Light Malachite Green. That's very pale. Beautiful, delicate colour, but much more pale compared to the one next to it, compared to the Beryl Green. Next up is the Cobalt Green. And next to it we have Chromium Oxide Green. This one feels like it doesn't want to move as much. That's the first one where I felt a teeny bit of resistance to the moving. Next to it we have Olive Yellow. Gorgeous colour. And Spring Green. This is where I had those 5 green marks left by a piece of pigment which must have been in the pencil, but they've washed away quite easily, so if there were to be any more you could always remove them, I'm sure, but it's even quite nice to have them there. Next up is Light Olive 40%. That is super bright. I'm not sure there are any olives that colour. They seem to be more muted in colour. Here we're going into another really intense green, which is Bright Green. Exactly what its name says. That's just not a colour I can imagine using by itself. And it makes the other one next to it look really olivey. Having said that it didn't look very olivey, I now look at it next to the Bright Green and think, oh yeah, that's very olivey. Maybe that's why they put them together, or maybe that's why they put the Bright Green in there. Next up is Grass Green. Which is also very bright, and I was just waiting to see if I felt like it was going to tone down the one on the left, which the one on the left did to the olive, and it kind of has somewhat, but I also feel like when they dry they lose some of their intensity, especially this one here. The next one is Emerald Green, and this has got the 4-star light rating. Next is Phthalo Cyan Green. Wow, that is super intense. Next to it is Moss Green. These are just lovely greens, spectacular. Make some really nice colour combinations out of these. Next is Dark Sap Green. Next up is Dark Thiocyan Green with its 4-star rating, light fast rating. Beautiful. Next to it is Dark Olive. Okay, so now we're moving into the more browny colours. This is a Brown Olive 50%. That is a lovely colour. And next to it is the olive brown. And then one with a 3-star rating, the green ochre. I love that colour. That's like one of my favourite yellows. And the raw sienna. The yellow ochre. And last off on this row, the brown ochre. That is just spectacular. Absolutely beautiful, and so much more vibrant than when you see them like this, obviously. I'm loving how the colour really explodes when it hits the water and gives you that vibrant intensity that you just don't see when they're in the dry version. So that's a really nice contrast to have. Okay, let's move down onto the last row. These next two are the pencils. So these are just pure graphite. 6B for the first one. That goes down really easily. These two pencils could be good if you wanted to use them for the pencil drawing underneath, and then it would obviously blend away, but you'd have to do it very lightly, or just take into account the fact that you get some of that graphite colour because it's definitely water soluble and going to make its mark. Or else you could just use them for shading, shadows, or any other thing. The next two are black. One is called black. This first one is black, and the second one is ivory black. Looking at them here, this one looks a bit blacker and this one looks a bit grayer, but all in all, it doesn't look like there's too much difference. So we'll see what happens when we get them wet. Here goes for the black. And the ivory black. Yeah, so when you wet them, completely different. This has got a much more warmer browny feel to it. So that's nice to have the two contrasts. The next one is Payne's Grey with its light fast rating of 4. And that's very grey. I was expecting it to be more blue somehow. And next to it is Steel Grey. That feels very light, pastely kind of grey. Next is Sepia 10%, sorry. Again, it feels quite pastely. Next to it is Warm Earth 50%. And then, wait, I'm all spun around. Warm Earth 50%. Okay, so next one is Sepia 50%. Next up is Slate Grey. Then French Grey, which feels very brown. These would be great if you're into animals or landscapes. Next one is Umber. And then Castle Earth. Raw Umber is this one. Brown is the next one. Feels much more reddy than brown. This next one is Russet, making me think of foxes. An autumn leaves kind of colour. Next one is Chestnut. And then Burnt Ochre. This one is Terracotta. The next one is Burnt Sienna 50%. That seems like a gorgeous colour. That one really sticks out in the middle. All these muted colours and then bam! But that's quite fun. The next one is Burnt Sienna 50%. And then we have Violet Pink with its 3-star light fast rating. The next one is Anthraquinoid Pink. which kind of reminds me of this one here, like it might have been a cousin of him. And coming on to the last three now, we've got apricot, butternut, and Naples ochre to finish it off. That feels very pale. So let's zoom out and take a look at them. So that's what they look like all together swatched out. You can see that there's a line where I initially had the pigment down to begin with. And even though the pigment has dissolved and moved away really easily, you can still see that mark. So that's worth bearing in mind if you're going to do a drawing or a painting and you want it to be complete coverage. You should probably put the pencil down on the whole area that you want to be covered so that you won't be then dragging it into an area where there was nothing initially and then getting a lighter colour. I think they're really beautiful colours. It seems like a really delicate range of colours, maybe apart from those two there. Yeah, if I take away those, it seems much more delicate. But it seems like a really beautiful range that you could use. Everything would go together. You could do landscapes, animals, all sorts of things. I can't really see many limitations to this beautiful colour range. I'm going to use these watercolour pencils in my next video, which is going to be painting and drawing a wallpaper design with some birds and vines on it. So I'll see you there. Bye.